Cheat, and Steal, the podcast about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. I'm your host, Pat Royce. Just to let you guys know, we are a bi-monthly podcast, so we're dropping 2 episodes every month. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on all the social medias. We are at Lie, Cheat, Steal Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Got all the clips up there. You're going to want to check us out. But if you really like what you're hearing, you should go over to our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/lie, cheat, and steal. You get access to not only 2 more episodes every month, but also access to our Discord servers. You can talk with other scam gang aficionados and keep abreast on all the things we don't necessarily cover here in the episodes. That's a really fun place to be. You also get access to our immense back catalog. Also intense and immense, I'd say. Also, if you guys were curious, our latest Patreon episode is Kath telling us all about Shelby Hewitt, the Boston area woman who used her job as a social worker to help her pull a reverse Billy Madison and pose as a teenager and enroll herself in multiple high schools. So always a fun listen with that. That being said, the aforementioned Kath is here with us right now. My co-host, Kath Barbadoro. How you doing?
Hi, Pat. I'm good. I did want to address the elephant in the room, get something out of the way right away. I am not drinking a giant glass of milk. I need that to be clear. I need people to know if they're watching on video, which you can do on our YouTube channel. Yeah. Go over there to see my giant glass of milk. It is not milk. It is, I've been experimenting with infusing rum.
Ooh.
And I'm drinking a tasty infused rum, coconut milk, lime juice.
Wow, that sounds really good.
It's very, very nice. It's going good. But yeah, it is not a glass of milk. So just wanted to be clear about that.
Yeah, I was just like, damn, Cat, all right. That's a choice. It's a capital C choice for sure. No, that sounds delicious though.
I was cooking for some friends. I was gonna make them dinner. And so I went to, my favorite thing to do is like give myself a really complicated recipe to make and then go to a bunch of different ethnic grocery stores to get all the ingredients. It feels like playing a video game or something. Like, I have to like get the loot, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my favorite thing to do. So I went to this Thai grocery store in Chinatown and I bought all these like Thai herbs. And then I was done making the curry. I had leftover ones. So my rum has lemongrass, ginger, galangal, which is like another ginger-like root thing. It's like really spicy. Some little green peppers in it. And then I just let that sit for like 4 or 5 days. Ooh. And now it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
It tastes so good.
So
I've had like a Thai curry cocktail now.
Nice.
It's tasty.
Yeah.
Anyway,
on Christmas Eve, I'm good. On Christmas Eve, I hung out at a bar, Busty's, with a friend of the show, Taylor Dowdy.
Busty's is the place to be on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, but I know the people there are going to be fun on Christmas Eve. Those are some fun people.
Yeah,
we did. Busty's.
We did the little switcheroo. We started off at Silver Medal and then ended up at Busty's, and I drank like probably 5 coconut mojitos, and like I don't drink sugary drinks like that, and like man, they were delicious. And I did wake up the next day with that sugar hangover. That's just like, oh, why did I do that?
This is nice because it is like I like this little coconut milk cocktail. I couldn't physically not have more than one of these. Like, I feel so bad.
Yeah,
it's self-limiting, which I appreciate.
Before the show, I stopped by. I'm trying to cut out beer is my thing, and like just drinking in general. I don't drink a lot throughout the week because I wake up at 5 in the morning, so it's very easy to not drink throughout the week. But I stopped by here and I was waiting for Josh to show up. It turns out he's already here. I went to the bar next door, ordered a whiskey soda, immediately got word that Josh was here, slammed the whiskey soda, and that might be optimal podcast recording alcohol intake.
It may. We'll find out.
Yeah. I think it is. Or it might be the worst. Fuck, who knows? Yeah, we are here in Austin, Texas. It is very cold. We are experiencing Texas's week of cold that we get every year. It's happening now.
Very cold here as well.
Yeah, it's that dang winter storm that looks like a big old sex toy wrapping across the entire Rust Belt.
Is it going to knock out your power, do you think? Or is that a risk? Or
I don't know. It's looking like we're just going to be, nope, thankfully we're just going to get we're going to get right above freezing and it's still going to rain. So it's just, they're not going to shut down my job site and it's going to suck. So I spent all this week so far doing, construction labor in extremely cold weather. Instead it felt like 11 degrees, I had the cold weather gear gloves. I was just done up. I had the shiesty, as the kids would say it. Yeah, I was out there doing some rugged stuff, some rough and rugged stuff, which oddly enough, that's my segue today. We're talking about rugged stuff. I'm kicking off the first of a 3-part series that actually, you know what? Multi-part series. I don't know how long it's going to be. Indefinite. Yeah. Could be forever. Who knows? But this is the Masculinity Industrial Masculinity Industrial Complex is what we're talking about here today. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Listeners of the show might recall that we touched on an element of this in our right-wing griftosphere episode with Talia Lavin, where we explored the abundance of products being marketed to right-wingers as a non-woke alternative to whatever. Yeah. And
shout out Talia Lavin, by the way. She has a new book out right now. So
awesome! Yeah, go check her out. She is awesome. She is a great writer. Her newsletter is incredible. It's all about sandwiches and social justice, and I really highly recommend you read it. But
her book is called Wild Faith: How the Christian Right is Taking Over America. So if you liked her episode, I feel like there will be a lot of additional stuff in that book that is probably up your alley.
Yes. Yeah. Go check her out. And that is, I read a dumb thought that entered my head about 5 or 6 years ago. I was like, a lot of noise coming out of the Christian right these days. I was like, it's probably their death throes. I literally thought that. I was like
thinking that.
Yeah.
About a lot of things. I was like, movements I don't like. I'm like, well, this must be their extinction event. And nope, no, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, it's crazy what you do with a political party when you give the people who actually want to vote for you what they're asking for, whether it's evil or not. You give them what they're asking for, give them what they're looking for, and hey, you know what? It works. And the Democrats will never learn that. And so, but yeah, the masculinity industrial complex. This is something I've been thinking about for a while because I see it all the time. As a guy, I work in a relatively masculine field. You know, like I don't want to be like it's super macho, but it's a bunch of when people say there's a masculinity crisis. One of the things that makes no sense to me is like, bro, come work a day with me. There's dudes swinging fucking hammers all day. It's one of the largest growing industries right now. People are clamoring for these jobs. Like, where are these soft boys that you're talking about? It's one thing that gets me mad.
They're like, please, God, let me into the trades.
Yeah.
So many dudes,
And it's so it's just funny. It's usually when someone says that, I can tell it's like they need to touch grass. They need to go outside and actually look at the world around them. And because it's so, and in my opinion, just so like ill-conceived, it reminds me a bit of a scam. And so I've been looking at this and just seeing how right now there is an entire industrial complex, essentially, that encompasses the products, services, and ideas that are being marketed directly to men as ways to either establish, signal, or reinforce their masculinity. This industry operates and thrives under the supposition that masculinity is, in its traditional forms and understanding, is either scarce, endangered, or gone altogether and in need of a rebirth. So what I want to address in these episodes will occasionally veer into the same territory as some of the Talia Lavin things. It will be different stuff, essentially. But it'll be like, essentially a lot of the products marketed to men are goofy, but ultimately harmless. Like if you feel the need to use wipes called dude wipes,
have at it.
I'm just glad you're leveling up on ass wiping. Like that's good.
Yeah, I mean, and also like, that stuff is corny and it's easy to make fun of, and that's completely fine. And I don't think you have to worry about hurting anyone's feelings. But also, like, stuff like that has been marketed to women forever and will continue to be.
They
make a different wipe for every part of a woman's body, and they sell them all like in pink flowery packaging. Like, we're not above it.
Yeah.
Like, it's capitalism. It's not gender.
Yeah. I would love
but they're using this fear, this thing of like, this is endangered to help them sell stuff.
Yeah,
that
of course.
Is different than women.
I don't think that there's quite an analog with that on the other side for the genders.
Yeah.
I would love to
it's men who are saying femininity is in crisis, not women. Women are like, we're fine.
I would love to see like the head side of like the Massengill R&D team, and he's just like, you're not gonna want to use those eye wipes to wipe your face or vice versa. You're not gonna want to use that wipe to wipe the other wipe. You're gonna want to buy the whole kit. It will result. You might die. I don't know. But when the product marketing itself as a staple of the masculine ideal is outwardly harmful or toxic or overall detrimental to the world around you, I'm going to consider you as someone who got duped by a scam in the oldest way. They preyed upon your insecurity, and the people who did it recognized and exploited that insecurity. you got scammed. So if you're out there,
Very well put.
if something I
Yeah.
say in the next few episodes ruffles your feathers, whatever, hey bro, I feel for your victim. We're all victims.
Yeah.
Everybody buys into this shit to some degree or the other. No matter how above the shit I think I am, there's just certain things I wouldn't do, like, or wouldn't like.
Yeah.
I
And
get
also, like,
those fears.
we are all subject to this because we all live in the same like soup of this. Like, I don't know. I think about it in terms of like gender scam shit that I fall for. Like, I spend so much money on skincare. Scientifically, you don't need most of it. You
Yeah.
don't really need, like, your skin is designed to take care of itself, you know?
Yeah.
And the reason I buy that is like to some extent because it is gender affirming. Like,
Yeah.
we all like kind of do these things in a way. So like I am perfectly happy to make fun of the people that we're going to be talking about in this episode. But I also like that doesn't mean that I think either of us or anyone is really like above it. It's
Yeah.
because we live in a world where people are always trying to make money off us.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I look at things like I'm getting some salt coming into the old pepper, like I see it in my beard and my hair, and I'm like, thank God I don't have, like, something will happen where I'm like, something will come along where I'm like, okay, I need to fix this. Gray hair isn't one of them. I'm kind of digging it. I like the look, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's one day I'll wake up, I don't know what the hell it'll be. It'll be a thing, and I'm like, well, I got to go buy the thing that stops this because I don't want this.
Yeah.
And when I get there, that'll be the day. But today I want to talk about, this is going to kick off the series with big ass trucks.
Oh, hell yeah.
Big ass trucks, the symbol of the American male, the symbol of
very Texas topic.
Very Texas topic.
I have because when I lived in Texas, I drove a subcompact. I drove a Honda Fit, and it was fine. And then I came back a couple years later, and I rented a subcompact, and I was so scared.
Yeah,
because all the cars are so fucking big.
They're gigantic now. It's insane. Yeah,
anyway.
I went to go visit family in Madison, Wisconsin, which is like the Austin of the Midwest. To make a rough analysis. And I remember that time I went up there, and I was like maybe in 11th or 12th grade. I was visiting my aunt and her cousins. And we were driving, and I saw an older dude who just looked like he was in his 50s or 60s, and he was driving a little small sedan. And I remember, I was just like, what went wrong in that guy's life that he's got to drive that little ass car? like I don't get to come
somehow.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly what I thought. I was like, damn, that's wild. I would never see a dude that old driving anything but a truck. Like, that's just, what else would you drive? So, in trucks, obviously, like a few more caveats. I like trucks. I grew up in Texas. I get the appeal. They look sick. They're comfortable as hell. It's like you're driving a living room. It's the best. They
are fun.
I
find them kind of scary, but I can see once you get over the fear that it's really fun to drive something that tall and big.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah, that's the thing. Like we're gonna get into the height and the bigness of these things because that is something that has changed. Whereas in the utility of these things is actually going down. So that's what we're gonna get into. But obviously, trucks benefits you every day, even if you don't own a truck. If you like food, any food fans out there, farmers, they spend countless hours in trucks, traversing property, hauling shit, point A, point B. You cannot overstate the importance of the truck to our daily survival. So if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I use my truck every day, well, then congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for using your truck.
You're probably doing something that is useful to if you use your truck every day.
So we're not talking to you, okay? We're talking about guys that you probably roll your eyes at,
There's a thing I always think about because my roommate in college, or housemate, he grew up on a horse farm in Wyoming, and he would always say about cowboy boots, he would say, if you don't have work boots, you don't deserve dress boots. And I feel like that applies to these trucks.
Yeah.
And I feel like the people with the work boot version of the trucks don't like the people with the dress boot version of the trucks who haven't earned it. I feel like there's a similar thing there.
That's funny. We will get into some very specific shoe criticisms in a segment we're going to do here in a little bit. That's very funny you say that. So the light truck, which is the name of the classic pickup truck body style that your dad, your boss, your neighbor, that they all drive, that we know and love, that is the most popular vehicle in America. In 2021, the U.S. auto industry sold about 15.5 million vehicles. 11.6 million of those were light trucks. So That's what we've got. This negatively impacts so many things, including vehicle safety, fuel consumption, damage to roads and infrastructure, and most importantly, traffic accidents and fatalities. So what has not increased is the usage of these trucks for their intended purpose of doing truck shit. The following results are based on answers given by 1,274 F-150 owners with model years 2012 to 2021 asked what they use their car for and how often they use it for.
So this is self-reported too.
Self-reported.
So you got to know that
Yeah.
the real thing is probably even less.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how they justify buying it. They're like, I'm going to use this to haul it all the time. And then that's what they like tell their wife that they're
Yeah. You know how much shit I haul? You know, like it's you know, it's been my lifelong dream to haul stuff. So let's get out. Like, so shopping and errands, they say 87%. And that's your truck, that's your car, that's what you're going to use. I get that.
Right. If you got one car and you're going to use it to do the heavy duty stuff, and also, you're doing that stuff more often.
Then after that, it's pleasure driving. 70% say use it for pleasure driving. I get that. Trucks are fun to drive. Commuting, 52%. I wouldn't really want to go to and from work in a truck unless I absolutely had to. Personal hauling, getting lower now, 28%. Towing, 7%. Say they use this frequently. Now, of those same categories, rarely and never, 63% of people said they rarely or never tow anything. And 32% said they did personal hauling completely out the window. So that's how did we get here, though? How did a vehicle balloon in size and price and lethality while simultaneously taking a nosedive in terms of usefulness and practicality? So we're going to dive in here to the history of the pickup truck. So
all right.
In the early days of automobile manufacturing, vehicles were sold only as a chassis and third parties added bodies to the top. I didn't know that before this.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. You buy these wheels, man. You do whatever you want, dude.
Just strap some wood pallets to that thing. Go to town.
Yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah, I'm just
wild.
putting in like ski boot braces and just like snowboarding that bitch through town, dude.
Yeah, I can only afford this part.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So the Rapid Motor Vehicle Company was founded by Max Grabowski and Morris Grabowski, who built 1-ton carrying capacity trucks in Pontiac, Michigan. In 1913, the Galleon All-Steel Body Company, an early developer of the pickup truck and dump truck, built and installed hauling boxes on slightly modified Ford Model Ts, and from 1917 on, the Model TT, which was a Ford released. So then Dodge comes along. They drop a 3/4-ton pickup with a cab and a body constructed entirely of wood. That was in 1924. 1925, Ford followed up with a steel-bodied half-ton based on the Model T with an adjustable tailgate and heavy-duty rear springs, billed as the Ford Model T runabout with pickup body, and that is where we get the term pickup from. So, that one sold for $281. What a time!
All right.
Yeah. 34,000 were built, and in 1928, it was replaced by the Model A, which had a closed cab, safety glass windshield, roll-up side windows, and 3-speed transmission. Now we're getting kind of into the regular-ass truck. And man, all those years they're talking about, I'm not a huge car historian guy, but those all look fucking fantastic. Here's like an old truck out driving around. That is the best. And you see the dude driving it, like, is just so proud.
I see one of those and I'm like, I feel like this should be driving across a farm in the Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
That's like what I think should be happening. I'm like, this should be surrounded by barren fields. Where wheat did not grow and it caused a huge problem.
I always think like there should be a voiceover when I see a truck like that.
Yeah, totally. Ken Burns should be doing some shit.
Yeah. So as the 20th century marched along, pickup trucks grew in popularity, not just as practical work vehicles for hundreds of professions, but as a symbol of expression and personality. It became intertwined with the very American ideal of masculinity, the hardworking man and his truck. It was the cowboy and the horse of the new generation. So after the 1970s, after the 1970s OPEC oil embargo triggered a spike in gas prices, the federal government adopted an array of policies intended to reduce energy demand. One of Congress's most consequential moves was creating the Corporate Average Fuel Economy, or CAFE standards, which required that the average fuel economy, miles per gallon or MPG of a car maker's vehicles, remain below a set threshold. So auto lobbyists get involved. They start pressuring, and Congress made a fateful decision when it established CAFE. Instead of setting a single fuel economy standard that applies to all cars, CAFE has two of them. one for passenger cars such as sedans and station wagons, and a separate, more lenient standard for light trucks, including pickups and SUVs. In 1982, for instance, the CAFE standard for passenger cars was 24 miles per gallon and only 17.5 miles per gallon for light trucks. Man.
I learned recently, too, that, like, that is one thing that we have not innovated for at all in cars. Like, the Model T does not get substantially lower miles per gallon than modern cars.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
We just never.
Yeah.
We were like, nope, we're gonna lobby to make sure this never gets any better.
Yeah. Well, there's a clear cut history as to how that happened. See, because the dual structure didn't initially seem like a big deal because in the 1970s, SUVs and trucks together accounted for less than a quarter of new cars sold. But as gas
people weren't buying SUVs for. It's so weird because like. People had big families back then.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing.
Well, advertising campaigns.
I guess not a lot of safety stuff either, so they were just piling kids.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Josh is shaking his head like, yes, that's what was happening. They used to show fucking advertising campaigns. It would be like station wagons and like sedans going to do family trips, and you would never see that now. Like you would never see it. You would never see it like a Toyota Camry pulling up to like a side of a lake and getting a picnic basket out of there. Although
not
it
in
is
a commercial.
Yeah, although it is entirely capable of doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So as the gas prices fell in the 1980s, the light truck loophole encouraged automakers to shift away from sedans and churn out more pickups and SUVs, which were also more profitable. So by 2002, light trucks were now more than half of new car sales. So during the George Bush administration, CAFE was revised to further loosen rules for biggest cars by tying a car's model efficiency standard to its physical footprint, which basically the shadow cast by the vehicle when the sun is directly above it. That's literally how they fucking figured that out.
I mean, it is an objective measure. I mean, why don't you just use car height? But it seems weird to do it by the shadow, but like. I mean, it does sort of get blurry what's an SUV and what's a sedan at a certain point. So
exactly.
I get it. Like, all right.
So as the cars blew up, they were able to skirt these these Environmental Protection Agency rules. Dan Becker. Just wider, like just bigger in general, because now they're in a different category that has more lenient fuel restriction rules.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Dan Becker, who led the Sierra Club's global warming program from 89 to 07, said that he warned federal lawmakers that adopting footprint-based standards was a mistake. He said if you give car makers another loophole, they're going to use it. So
it sounds like they misunderstood what a carbon footprint was.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's how they invented this.
Yeah, they were just like a focus group just stared at carbon footprint for like a day and a half, and then he just like erased BON, and he was like, car footprint, car footprint, dude. Yeah, that's where I need everyone's mind in this fucking box right now.
That's how we'll stop global warming.
Yeah.
It's the car footprint.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
What if
the carbon footprint?
What if the cars had feet? You ever thought about this? Just like circles of feet. Like, I don't know, man. Fred Flintstone made it happen. So another thing that has shaped the American auto industry and to the favor of American automobile manufacturers, but to the detriment of the consumers, is the chicken tax. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I have not.
So the chicken tax.
I should say I have not owned a car in almost 10 years, and the car I owned was, like I said, pretty much the smallest car you could get. So all of this is news to me.
That is bonkers. It's like I there's been periods in my last 10 years of my life where I haven't had a car, and that was spent just scrapping against the world to get another car. I was like, shit, I need it.
The first 3 years I lived in Austin, I didn't have one, and it was before Uber, and it was so hard. It was awful. I mean, the nice thing about it is that's how I made friends in the comedy scene. Was I needed people to give me rides home. And thankfully, like the Austin comedy scene at that time was like very hospitable, and so like people would do it, but like mostly also because they were like, we can't just let this 22-year-old take the bus at like 1 a.m. from Kickbutt Coffee. Like that's not appropriate. But yeah, no, it's hard in like 99% of this country. Having a car is kind of necessary.
Yeah,
it's really hard to live without one. I've just been pretty lucky living in a place where I don't need it. Yeah.
Well,
shout out congestion taxes, by the way. Big thumbs up to that. Put that in. Very happy about that.
I've been reading about that. I have not read enough about it. I don't know exactly what's happening.
It's just very briefly, I don't want to take up too much time with super hyper local politics, but basically they made a rule that if you're driving from if your car enters Manhattan anywhere below 60th Street, which is basically the bottom of Central Park down to the bottom, it's a $9 flat fee. So you don't have to pay when you leave again, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
like it's $9 if you go in. So you can go on the highways around Manhattan, but if you go on like the surface streets, you get charged $9. So it's to like encourage people to take public transit
Oh
into that
yeah.
part of Manhattan because it's really, really dense. And it's like, yes, it will impact a fee. Like the MTA, like there's a way to apply for a discount if you make under a certain amount of money and you need to commute into the city. But the vast majority of people who are driving cars into Manhattan are like rich people
Yeah,
because
yeah.
in order to like pay for parking in Manhattan, you have to have hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So like
Yeah.
$9 is really like, but obviously people are flipping the fuck out about
Yeah.
it. And anyway, so that's what's
Oh
happening.
man,
But
I can already hear
very
the
cool.
hear the discourse about that. I saw.
There was a very funny quote, like, because obviously, like, the New York Post is flipping out and they're trying to interview people who are like impacted by this. And they were like, this father can't drive. He lives on 59th and he can't drive to 72nd to see his kids anymore. And it's like, okay, number one, that's 15 blocks.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
cry me a fucking river. You can walk. Number two, then people Googled this guy and they were like, he's literally like a billionaire real estate developer. Like,
I was gonna say,
okay, man.
yeah, I can just see like if he's living there and his kids are living there, he's probably got bread. Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, but sorry to derail.
Oh no,
derail
that's
the
I mean, yeah,
episode, but it's very funny.
very car centric. So in the chicken tax is basically in the early 1960s, Europe pissed off America by slapping a 50% tariff on chicken exported from the United States. In retaliation, the U.S. enacted a 25% tax on pickup trucks imported from abroad. The dispute is long forgotten, but the chicken tax lives on. Although the tariff was initially aimed at Germany's Volkswagen, it also applied to pickups imported from newer automaking powers such as Japan and South Korea, where car makers were just better at building vehicles that were smaller to those available to Americans. Like, for example, Toyota makes a pickup called the Hilux Double Cab, which weighs several hundred pounds less than a 2024 F-150. And it's about a half a foot shorter. But Americans who want it are out of luck because Toyota does not sell the Hilux in the U.S. because a 25% tariff would make it prohibitively expensive.
That's so. I didn't realize that was the reason we don't have foreign-made pickups. That's so interesting.
Yeah, there's a few obviously that get through, by like
Right.
signing deals where they're going to make like, they'll have like manufacturing plants in America or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that's why all
For the
those
most
like
part.
like one of the guys, a journalist had said, in the land of freedom, how can we can't ride the same pickup trucks as the Taliban?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, they all have those little trucks, and guys
Those little Japanese trucks are fucking dope. I
dude, yeah,
love those.
guys who use trucks for truck shit to do truck things. If you see a Ford F-250 with the the crew cab 4-door with the short ass little knobby bed on the end that actually can't hold anything, that guy doesn't work. He has a job, but it ain't hauling shit. It ain't doing shit.
He probably works remote.
Yeah,
Like, he doesn't even drive that car because he works.
Well, that's why I got
and makes PowerPoints. All
Yeah, that's why I got Wi-Fi in the truck so I can work remote in the truck, and it pays for itself. That's a business expense. I can write that off. Now I got to pick up my personal chef, and they owe me money now. The government owes me money because I'm getting a succulent meal every night. But no, yeah. If you see a guy with like in a Suzu, like his little Suzu with like the 1990s like cup graphic on the side, like that guy is using that truck. That shit's getting used. That's why even like Ford Rangers and like Toyota Tacomas and shit like that, if you have a good Toyota Tacoma, like it's one of those that it's a meme at this point, but like the whole no low balls, I know what I got. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like people want those trucks. I have friends that have those, especially older models. You can't pull up to a red light with some guy and be like, how much? It's like, because people know the value and worth of those trucks versus.
And it's because they're sort of like slimmer bodied and
they're fuel efficient. They can move around.
Yeah.
They're as much truck as 90% of people are going to need is that.
Yeah.
And if you need more, you need more. But like, again, if that's you, we're not talking to you. So the
friend of the show, Andrew Rosas, had I think he sold it when he moved to LA, but he had like a 78 Ford pickup truck. It was fucking
Oh,
awesome.
I
It
think
was
I remember
so
that.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like green and like silver. It was cool. His family had a ranch, and I think the truck had been out at the ranch, and he like picked it up and fixed it up. It was really, really cool.
That's
But
sick.
R.I.P. He sold it probably for a lot of money because it was one of
Yeah.
those like smaller, old,
Yeah,
one of
people love
those.
those things, man. Taylor Dowdy got an old ass truck, and our friend Taylor for the show, Taylor Dowdy, dresses like if a time traveler came from the 1950s, and the first
Yeah, he
person
looks
he
like he'd have
saw
an old ass
was
truck.
Taylor Dowdy, he'd be like, "Shit, time machine doesn't work." Because like Taylor,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exactly what Taylor looks like, and he just hops out of that truck, and it's like it's like looking back in time. It's kind of insane. But so the chicken tax prevented competitive Asian or European truck makers from entering the U.S. market, and so as a result of this, American manufacturers of trucks have never really had to compete with anyone. So for decades, the USA levied a 25% import duty on foreign pickups. So with no competition, the U.S. automakers spent big money on marketing pickups, knowing that they will not be undersold even if they make an additional 20% markup. So
Wow.
that's kind of
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I'm sure there's no incentive to get rid of that chicken tax.
none at all.
'Cause-
In fact, the guy, one of the former CEO of Hyundai America, said that the chicken tax is one of the most important determinants of how the auto industry looks today and how it operates today. It's like
Wow.
that, yeah. But
Yeah.
now moving forward with even more, just wild government leniency towards these big truck manufacturers, the auto industry in general. In 1984, Congress stopped allowing small business owners to take a tax deduction for the purchase price of cars used for work. But the bill included a giant loophole to protect those that needed a heavy duty truck. Think farmers, construction workers. So
Right.
Congress made an
Those are
exception.
so much more expensive.
Yeah, they made
Okay.
they made an exemption. It's known as Section 179 for cars that weigh over 6,000 pounds when fully loaded with passengers and cargo. Today, such behemoths are eligible for a tax deduction of up to $30,500.
Wow.
So,
So how like I again because I'm like not a car, barely ever owned a car. I owned a car for a cumulative total of about 4 years. How a 6,000 pound full of stuff, a 6,000 pound. How big is that? Like,
you're going to be looking. So, do you know what the classic Hummer looks like?
yes.
That weighs 10,300 pounds. So,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I would not have guessed it weighed that much.
yeah, that is
Jesus Christ.
that is an over
a tank.
4-ton car. Yeah. So
Oh my God.
to get
Okay.
like the idea. So like imagine like an F-250 is like a big ass truck. If it's like, it could be roughly 2/3 of that size, which is still
Yeah.
fucking gigantic. And
Sure.
now you're into that category. So
And this is purely by weight, not by function of the car.
purely by weight. There has to be there's
Yeah,
no
so you can buy like a Range Rover and it fits into this.
Yes,
even
yes, you
though
can.
You're like not like you're not driving that around your farm.
Yep. You could drive
Okay.
a Chevy Suburban. I see people use
Yeah.
old beat up SUVs as work trucks. That's for sure a thing. But you can do it
Okay.
with a Suburban. You can do it with an F-250 Ford Super Duty. You can do it with a Dodge Ram 3500. You can do it any of that. So few folks at the EPA know about Section 179, but every auto dealer does. Some car dealerships even offer handy Section 179 guides on their websites. The tax advantage of buying a behemoth may be powerful enough to tilt the vehicle purchase decisions to individuals like real estate agents who use their vehicles for professional and personal use. It's like, so now you're getting into weird fields where you don't really need a truck. And so as cars electrify, the added tonnage from batteries is going to allow more models to qualify for this favorable tax treatment. And it was crazy with the fucking with the battery things is like you would think, oh, that's good. And it's just like, but those cars have their own slew of environmental problems that they create as opposed to solving.
Right. I mean, just the manufacturing of the batteries itself. I have a friend with a Prius, and I was just talking about this with them of like, it is like not that electric cars are like bad or anything, but like, they're not as good for the planet. Like, hopefully, we will innovate ways to make them
Yeah.
better for the planet. But like the way they are currently produced is like, it's not. If you can get a really fuel efficient gasoline run car, that like arguably could be better.
Yeah,
than
yeah.
getting
It's
something electric.
Yeah, it's completely, yeah, we're not there yet with them, that's for sure. And so if Section 179 sounds crazy, there's another federal loophole that has endured for decades. In 1978, Congress established the gas guzzler tax, requiring automakers to pay between $1,000 and $7,700 for every car produced that gets less than 22.5 miles per gallon. But that tax only applies to passenger vehicles like sedans and station wagons. So SUVs and pickups are exempt. And that makes no sense from a policy perspective, but it's great news for car makers producing inefficient behemoths. And so
this is a really good episode about this because you're like, like we're making fun of the dudes that are obsessed with these, but like you're laying out all the reasons why it is inevitable that people buy them.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not like an individual's fault. Like there are so many things in place to make these cars attractive to consumers.
Yeah.
So like, and also to like incentivize car companies to keep producing them. So
that's what we're gonna get into in this part right here is what they like this is why they do this basically. So every time a car owner fills their gas tank, there's a thing called the gas tax, and a portion of that goes into the Federal Highway Trust Fund, a central source of funding for roads and mass transit. That tax rate is set at 0.184 cents per gallon, and that's been frozen since 1993. Under Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Congressional
when
proposals
were like half as expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, cool.
So nothing is even coming close with just price increases or inflation. And so
that's like, since it's tax time, I always think about there's a performer tax credit where if you're a performer working in the arts, you can like claim tax exemption on certain things. And they haven't updated the income cap on that since like 1974. So it only works if you make $12,000 or less a year. It's like, wow, thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for supporting the arts.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, keep going off on tangents.
I remember the first time I saw a headlining comic at a club. This guy's doing much better now. Joe List. We all know the comedian Joe List.
Yeah. Joe List is great.
Yeah, he's great. I worked with him for a weekend he wasn't even featuring, he wasn't even headlining, he was featuring at a comedy club in Hartford to give you an idea of kind of how long ago this was. And I was hosting, and he was doing a joke about paying taxes on comedy money. And I was like, that's insane. Like, how much do you make? And he was like, well, last year I made $13,000 doing comedy.
Oh,
yeah, Joe is doing way better now. Like, when I just rehearing that. And he was like, I know, that sucks. And in my head, I was like, that's $13,000, dog.
It's $13,000 more than I've made doing comedy.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So over the last 31 years, as we know, consumer prices have risen 113%, making the real value of the gas tax less than half of what it was in 1993. The decline has reduced the cost of powering an SUV or truck, and like it just, it is reduced that while putting nothing back into the things it was initially made to help. Right. But again,
and also like causing proportionally more damage to the roads that fund is supposed to help fix.
Exactly. And so, but this leading is how big are they now? I just want to give people an idea of these. Is the first generation of F-150s was 36% cab and 64% bed. And by 2021, that ratio has flipped. It is now 63% cab and 37% bed. So it's all about...
Yeah, they have like a full back seat in there now. Like full, like,
Because it's like they make more money off of selling these bigger cars because they can load them full of shit. They're luxury family vehicles now. Right, and so you can, the price on these things, like trucks ballooned in size essentially to accommodate consumer preferences for more family-friendly vehicles. But why it was these things, and it comes at a huge cost too. One thing I want to get in obviously is safety. So this is insane. While the rest of the world has been seeing pedestrian deaths and car accidents go down, the U.S. is at an all-time high right now. It's much more likely that you are going to be killed by a car if it strikes you. For example, this is in a study from 2022, which is the last full year for which there was data, is the most deadly year on record for U.S. pedestrians. Like, wow. Of the 3,000,
I believe it.
Yeah. Of the 3,375 crashes, 308 saw the vehicle kill the pedestrian. When examined by vehicle type, vans proved to be the least dangerous to pedestrians. Most dangerous to children, but least dangerous to pedestrians.
As long as you don't get in them.
Yeah. The danger in a van is all on the inside, baby. It's what's happening there. Yeah, it's deep into the shag carpeted territory of the back of that van. But cars were a bit worse. 8.5% of pedestrians that were hit by a sedan or hatchback were killed. Compact SUVs were roughly the same as cars, 8.8%. But full-size SUVs and pickup trucks were significantly more deadly to pedestrians. Of pedestrians hit by pickup trucks, 11.9% were killed in the crash, rising to 12.4% when you factor in SUVs. So it's clear from the data that the hood height plays a significant role in this death toll, together with vehicle weight. The study found the chances of pedestrian dying in a single vehicle crash were 68% higher when the vehicle was a light truck relative to a car. So they decided
you get sucked underneath it and not thrown over the hood. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like very much so. So they calculated that. Well, they did a thought experiment. What would happen if vehicle hood heights were limited by regulation to 49.2 inches? That's 1.25 meters.
That's already so tall.
That's already tall. Yeah.
That's 4'1". That's like taller than most. That's so tall.
That would have saved 509 lives. Like 509 less people would have died. Basically, if you drop it to 1.2 meters, you'd spare an estimated 1,350 pedestrian lives per year. That's a lot. That's a third of a 9/11.
I also feel like you probably would reduce the number of accidents in the first place because you can actually see people.
You can see what the hell, dude. Left hand, like when they're taking left turns, those are insane. Like in trucks, it's kind of almost impossible to do. I was sitting in the HEB the other day, eating in my car, normal, healthy, not depressed. Just went for a run and bought a thing of rotisserie chicken legs. It was just eating, listening to a podcast. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, getting down. I now go to an HEB that has a barbecue restaurant in it, and I have found that I can just go sit in the barbecue restaurant, order a drink, and eat my little rotisserie chicken. That's what I do now.
Nice.
But I was in the car. So you know that in the fucking in parking lots, it's like you have the one row where you can turn into the cars this way, and if you go down the opposite end, there's no way you can make that crazy turn. This chick in a truck the size of a house, and she was like 4'9". She's driving through. She's trying to make the turnaround. It's 5 o'clock. There's people everywhere. She's just apologized to everybody, but not stopping. And she goes and just crunches right into my car and then backs up and then goes and parks. And then I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, do I even care at this point? I get out, I look at my car, and it's like, I really can't see anything. I look at her, and she's not getting out of her truck. I just like kind of sat there. I was like, really? And nothing. No, not getting out, not acknowledging. I was like, you know what? I just got it and left. But like these people, they can't see shit. They don't know what's going on. And it's insane. They said that like people who drive trucks are like just obviously way more likely to hit animals just because they are. But an odd study I read finding this out was that people that drive trucks are way more likely to swerve to hit an animal.
I mean, if you're driving a big truck, like, it's weird because I feel like it's this sort of thing where there are a lot of rural areas of the country that have this split, but it's like where like if you're way out in the country, it might be because you like nature and it might be because you hate And I feel like trucks like that are sort of like that. It's like, well, you might like have a job where you're like outside a lot or like in sort of rough territory. Like maybe you have to drive off road. Maybe you're like a logger or something. You need to like be out in the forest and maybe you like that. Or you get it because you're like, I want to fucking roll coal. I want to destroy the environment. I want to personally raise the temperature of the earth. And so like, those people are gonna
you feel that as me, baby. I did that.
They're gonna swerve to hit an animal. That's the kind of person they are.
For sure, man. It's so
wild. I mean, it is also you're like, check out how big and strong my car is. This deer is no match for it.
Like, why trucks? Like, why did this happen with trucks? And so trucks ballooned to accommodate consumer preferences for more family-friendly vehicles. But if most of you are using the trucks primarily for errands and transportations, why not buy a minivan or an SUV instead? And this is where it wraps around full circle, is it's all about self-image. There was a guy from a researcher from Axios research firm said that today personality imagery are playing an even more important role in how customers choose which truck is right for them. The firm surveyed vehicle owners each year about the character traits they associate with their vehicle. Two words set F-150 owners apart: powerful and rugged is what they wanted. So meanwhile, 40%
Masculinity shit.
masculinity
for sure.
shit, exactly.
Yeah.
40% of F-150 owners describe their vehicle as powerful, compared to 15% for other car owners. 50% described it as rugged, compared to 19% on average. But they're also showing other terms start to pick up in popularity now. Traits including functional, reliable, economical, also modern, sophisticated, and technologically advanced. People just want these fucking giant spaceships. And with every new thing they dream up that they want, they have a crazier price tag to come along with it. And they're more profitable because like when they make a very simple economical car, you know, what they can sell that for isn't as much as they like over their cost of goods. Whereas in the 2023 F-150 with like the lower packages still comes in between $34,000 and $42,000, but it goes all the way up to $85,000.
Wow.
I work with a guy who has a Chevy High Country, and it's just literally like his rear view camera is just, or his rear view mirror is just a backup camera encased in his rear view mirror. Like it's insane, like the level of technological sophistication of this truck. His truck payment is $1,700 a month.
I was just gonna say that's the other part of this that's so fucked up is like people get these fucking trucks and they're like, nah, it's only like 13% interest for 28 months. And it's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like 72 months at 12%. It's such a good deal. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why are you killing yourself for this?
Yeah, it's you don't need it. We drive, and I've heard people do occupational justifications, and again, that does exist. But
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything we're saying is moot if you need it for work.
Yeah,
like, absolutely.
But like as a construction worker, like I would say, like when you go to big jobs, like 90% of the people how they're getting on that job is they're meeting in their trucks are on, or their tools are on site in a locked gang box, and they are pulling up to a business parking lot about a mile away from the job site, and they're all getting in a shuttle bus and going down there. Now, granted,
yeah, they're not driving their skidding their
Yeah. If I'm working at like if we're building like a Walgreens like in like central North Dakota, like yeah, I bet those guys are showing up to work in their thing and they're leaving in their truck. I get that, but again, if that's you, we're not talking to you. But I wanted to take this time to kind of look at some the evolution of truck advertising campaigns. So used to be, this is all from Dodge throughout the 20th century. It was just Dodge's was just dependability. That was Dodge's motto, dependability. Then in the 1960s, it turned into Dodge Fever. And then it turned into you could be Dodge material. A little more psychological. Like, hey, you could be Dodge material if you got your shit together. Yeah. We're willing to let you try one.
Yeah.
They just call you back 6 months later. They're like, hey, bring it back, dude. You're not. You're clearly not Dodge material.
Sorry.
Then we shift into the iconic, that thing got a Hemi. So already we're getting more into like truck nuts, if not by invention, but by vibe. You know, that thing got a Hemi. And then there was then it came back to where Dodge is at now. Dodge different. Then it was Dodge grab life by the horns. Wrestle a fucking ram, pussy. Like what you do? Then of course, like a very manly advertising campaign, almost a little like disgustingly manly, is Chevy, like a rock.
We don't have to psychoanalyze that.
Yeah, not at all. We had built Ford tough. That was a big one. And then the new Ford one is when America needed something that worked harder than a car, we built them a truck. And it's like, 14 Americans needed something that worked harder than a car, and you built 45 million of them a truck. And that's kind of the problem where we're at.
Kind of the summary of the issue. Yeah.
But this debate comes up online quite a bit. And again, I kind of talked about what the common responses are. I needed this and that. And but one of the criticisms, which I understand, was the guy who's like, it's never even truck people that have this conversation. It's, essentially it's like soy boys. It's dudes like, like guys who have no business even discussing trucks, talking about trucks. And I can understand feeling a little attacked by that. So I work on a job site with some of the truckiest dudes around. And
Yeah.
I
No,
decided,
this is why this is a good series, because like you are reporting from the front line.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
It's like
the thing you're
anybody,
talking about.
yeah, dude, call me a pussy. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning and I was in 19-degree weather on a rooftop, like by before the sun came up. So just, I'm not just talking out my ass over here, but so this guy, this is a gentleman that I work with by the name of Daryl, and Daryl drives a truck with it's a. We'll
He's
talk
not
about
the one with the $1,700 car payment.
No, this is not him. In fact, that guy might be in the crosshairs of the people that Daryl's talking about here. Although the other guy works too. He all works, but he doesn't work with that truck. That's for sure. But this is Daryl. He has a Lone Star beer sticker on the back of his truck, as well as a sticker of it's buck antlers, and it says "size matters." So,
dope.
And Daryl is very old school. I don't know how old he is, but he ain't young, and but he's cool as hell. I love this guy. Politically, we're on way opposite sides of the spectrum, but I talked to him about his truck ownership thoughts and beliefs, and he doesn't disagree with us. So here we go. This is Daryl checking in. All right, Daryl. So I noticed that you drive a truck. By the way, we're here talking with Daryl today. I noticed that Daryl, you drive a truck. You seems like a pretty reasonable size. What do you drive?
I just got a half-ton Chevy.
Half-ton Chevy. All right.
V8.
How do you feel about these big-ass trucks that you see around there?
I think that's nothing but a waste of money and a status symbol. Somebody wants to jack their truck up that high where they could possibly go through mud that deep. They ain't got enough motor to pull it.
Hell yeah, okay, all right. And do you do truck shit with your truck? You actually get out there and truck around and shit? Like haul shit?
I've got a ranch and I haul fence posts and barbed wire and drive myself to the deer blind. I pull my trailers. I'm building hot rods, so I have to pull a car to town to get fab work done on them or whatever. Yeah, I've got a truck because I need a truck.
You got trucks, you need a truck.
I can't pull shit with a Prius.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So you see a lot of people that have trucks like, when you see like these like parking lots where it's like the Google headquarters, 10:30 on a Monday afternoon, whole bunch of Dodge Ram 3500s and shit, pristine, never had an ounce of dirt on them. Like, do you think those guys are using their trucks like that?
They don't even wear boots. They got patent leather fucking shoes. What a goddamn boot. What the fuck's up with that shit?
Hell yeah. All right, cool. Hey, Daryl, thanks for being on the show today, man.
Sure, man.
Yeah. Take care, brother. All right, that's Daryl right there.
Daryl's a hoot. Shout out Daryl. Yeah. That's so funny.
Daryl rules, man. We all had to go to the basement for an emergency, not an emergency meeting, but like somebody fucked up. We had to all go down and get yelled at. And Daryl was up on the ladder. I was like, Daryl, they want us down in the basement. He goes, when? I said, now. He goes, tell them to go fuck themselves. Just classic Daryl line.
I like how you sound so much more Southern at your job than you do talking to me. It definitely comes out. I know it's real. Yeah. But like, it definitely is more pronounced when you're talking to dudes that sound like Daryl versus your fucking Ivory Tower East Coast podcast co-host.
Yeah, it does come out. I also do more reading here. I think when I read, I snap into a code switch when I read. But well, there you go. So that is the final word, obviously, from Daryl, and nobody can fucking comment more on what he has to say. But this is what it boils down to.
He said his car is a half ton.
Half ton, so
it's 1/20th of a Hummer. It's
that's crazy. That's insane. So that's Daryl, and Daryl rules. But yeah, this is my final takeaway on the thing. You can buy and you can drive whatever the hell you want. But the idea, it's clear that these companies out there are selling these things because they make them more money, but it makes them money at a cost that it impacts everyone around them. It's like it messes up the roads. It literally kills people. It's ruining the environment. So drive whatever you want, of course. But if you don't need that much truck, maybe don't get that much truck. There's no point for it. But if you did do it, I would say you fell victim to a scam. You got duped, you got played.
You probably got played more than once because you probably also got suckered into a really bad car loan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, so many people that drive these things can't fucking afford them. Like the dude, the $1,700 truck payment guy. That dude is stressed out all the time. He is never relaxed. He is always pissed. He's wondering why we have to go home for a half day. Can't we just work 50 hours this week? Come on, man, I need it. You know. So.
Oh man.
Yeah. So there you go. That is part one of the masculinity industrial complex. That one had a lot of numbers, but I think the vibes are still there.
That was fascinating. No, thank you so much for telling me about that. Yeah, no, I feel like your articulation of what you're trying to get at with the series is really interesting. And then, yeah, I had no idea about again, I'm a New York City. I'm like, yeah, congestion pricing. Like, I'm very anti-car, but I agree with what you were saying and what I'm not really in a position to criticize because I'm so not culturally I don't know anything about cars.
Yeah.
I just know I don't want to get hit by a big one. That's all I know. So it's talking about why the auto industry is set up this way is really interesting and informative and helpful. And now I can argue about it on the internet with people who are mad about the congestion pricing.
There you go. Yeah. Go be more insufferable online. That's what we want to do.
Exactly.
I want to arm people. But yeah, that is what I have other topics I want to cover in this series.
I'm excited to hear them.
Things that have really made me kind of angry. I think that this one is probably the most I would say lighthearted, but even with all those pedestrian deaths factored in, I think the things we're gonna cover in further episodes are a little more detrimental to society in probably some darker ways. But we'll get into those. Yeah, stick around. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you can actually go ahead and find us. We're on all Instagram, YouTube, and also TikTok. We're at Lie, Cheat, Steal Podcast. You can find us there. I also am going to be going on the road in March. I got a little tour coming up. We're thinking of calling it, because it's going to end in Hill City, which is this town that has Mount Rushmore in it. So me and my boy Ronald Vada are thinking of calling it the Mount Crushmore Tour.
Tight. I love it.
But we're going to be in Bismarck, North Dakota on March 19th, Dickinson, North Dakota on March 20th. Then I'm doing a show in Deadwood, Kath. I was waiting to tell you about this.
No.
Yeah, dude, we're going straight to the wood, bro. We're doing Deadwood, South Dakota on the 21st, and we're doing Hill City, South Dakota, a.k.a. the town in the shadow of Mount Rushmore. And we're going to be doing that one on the 22nd of March. So you can check us out there. Also, I'm on Instagram at PZTX, and I'm also on Blue Sky now at PZTX. I needed a place to just write stupid shit, and that's I missed that short form blogging site, so I hopped back on. Find us there. Kath, you got anything for us?
I'm Kath Barbadoro on Blue Sky and Instagram. I have another podcast called What a Time to Be Alive that comes out every week. You can check that out. It comes out on Mondays. I don't have any shows right now, so thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope this is the first one of the new year, baby. Well, unless you subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/lie, cheat, and steal, where you can get 2 more episodes every month, access to our back catalog, and you would have already got an episode this month. We dropped, or this year, we dropped one already. But here for the folks in the free feed, we love you just as much, I promise. This one is the first one of the year. I hope everything is getting off to a great start. I hope it goes good. But remember, be safe, be smart, but above all, don't get caught.
Don't get caught.